welcome to our second Monday Night Football episode of the week. A week we're spending reflecting on Hibs' historic Scottish Cup win on Saturday. We wanted to do something a wee bit different in addition to a review show, so we managed to call upon a guy who's done a huge amount to help us this season, Hibernian communications manager Colin Millar, to talk us through his experiences on a momentous weekend for everyone connected with the club. We hope you enjoy it.
So Colin, did you have a decent weekend?
I think decent is probably the biggest understatement going. It doesn't really get much better than that. I think we're now facing into that realisation that how do you now build on that? Because it's taken us all a few days just to let it sink in that it's actually happened.
Still hasn't really even sunk in, to be honest.
We're still pinching ourselves. Do you just explain a wee bit more about your duties on a match day as communications director? Like what's your role on a day like Saturday at Hampden, and how do you balance that with being supporter as well? Like what were your feelings on the day as opposed to your responsibilities?
I think to address the second point first, I think as soon as you start working for the club, whilst you're still a supporter, and I've been a Hibs fan my whole life, but the relationship does change. So you don't view the game as a supporter. You're there first and foremost thinking about your roles and your responsibilities. So communications manager here at the club, responsible for our social media output. So on Saturday we had Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram as our four main social media platforms. You've got the website and all the messaging that's going up there pre and post match. We've got Hibs TV, so we had the live video broadcast to overseas subscribers and live commentary for the UK subscribers, plus your post-match interviews, the highlights packages and everything else. And then you've got the kind of external facing roles as well, so dealing with all the press and the media. So our communications team that went to the weekend had two videographers, two photographers. We had three guys for the Hibs TV commentary, including the pre-match and kind of half-time post-match pieces. We also had two people covering social media, and one person doing the match report as well. So we're carrying a team of kind of 11, 12 as well, and there's a bit of organisation that goes alongside that. In terms of the day itself, it kind of turned. I think I was at Hampden for about 10:30, which is probably earlier than most people. I think I probably got there before most SFA staff, but prefer just to be there. Become familiar with your surroundings. To be fair, it was the third time we've been to Hampden, so we're getting used to it, but now it's becoming a second home. Make sure everything's working, so our Hibs TV output involves making sure there's a working ISDN line, that it's dialed in properly, that the guys back in the kind of central point have the feed details that they need and everything else. Then when it gets to probably the hour before kick-off, you get the team news. So obviously it's the main bit of information that supporters are looking for pre-match. We make sure we get that out as quickly as possible. Manager goes straight into pre-match press, so we would have Sky interview, BBC interview, BBC radio and 5 Live as well. And once that was done, that was the first point where I probably felt that I could focus and think about the actual game itself. Everything Hibs TV wise was set up, working, and the boys were on air. All the press and media duties were done, so I could just go and take my seat, and everything that I needed to do was done, and you could start thinking about the game itself. Game obviously happened, went pretty well. Post-match, you have the immediate post-match interviews, and everything happened kind of within the tunnel area, with the final being a kind of dual broadcast, so Sky and BBC were both doing the game live, so the two of them are both down there trying to grab as many bodies as possible, players, coaching staff, Leanne, the chairman. Then once all the once all the celebrations had happened, the medals were in, and the players celebrated in the dressing room. Once they were all changed, they would all go through the mixed zone at Hampden. So every player that played would basically walk up and down, and all the written and broadcast press were in the one central point. Once it was all done, we came back to the stadium. There was a few mainly broadcast journalists here to try and capture the shots of the players coming off the bus at Easter Road, supporters celebrating. And only once the players were all back at the stadium, we worked on getting the highlights packages together, which went live at midnight on the Saturday night. Got all that done, had all our social media done, and thought, I'll go and enjoy the night. So, I mean, on a usual match day, usual home match day, even the away ones, we're probably not finished work until 10, 11 o'clock at night by the time we get all the videos done for Hibs TV. But when you get a positive result like that, everybody wants to watch the goals, watch the highlights, and you don't mind doing it.
And I think that's something that people underestimate. That's a lot of work, the social media side of things. I think people think, that would just be easy, you're just updating your phone, but it's quite a big workload to keep on top of. And then with the video editing and things, did you find it hard to concentrate at any point on that with everything else that was going on?
I think I'm quite fortunate because we've got a strong team here. So in terms of staff, there's myself, there's a PR and media executive, and there's a digital development executive. On top of that, we've got a fantastic team of Hibs TV volunteers. So we were able to go to Hampden with a team of 12 people, I think it was. So I didn't need to worry about everything. You keep an eye on what was going through Twitter, going through Facebook and everything else. But there's a lot of trust that goes into the other guys because they all know the role that they're doing. So I didn't need to worry too much about the other things, and I could concentrate on being the point of contact for the press and media, making sure all those obligations were met.
And what kind of relationship does your team have with the players? Because you're obviously in contact with each other on a weekly basis. Are we able to kind of judge the mood in the camp leading up to the final on Saturday, and on the day itself? Was there any, I guess, did you get a feeling off them that something good was going to happen, or was it just business as usual, professionals?
I think the build-up was a bit different from probably most cup finals in that we were playing big playoff games up until the Friday night before, and we'd had to prepare for the potential of having a playoff game on the Tuesday. So it was only really once the dust settled on the Falkirk game that we properly started to get into cup final mode. We had our main press and media day on the Tuesday, where again, because BBC and Sky are host broadcasters, they get a chunk of rights to speak to players and speak to management before. We also had 3 or 4 players up for kind of the main written press and media. So we had the bulk of 7, 8, 9 players talking to press on the Tuesday. And the team's a very strong knit group, which I think everyone supporters from the outside can easily see. Mm-hmm. And there was that determination, I would say, that they'd been through an awful lot this season and won a good number of games, got to the final of the League Cup, got very close in the playoffs, but they didn't want to end this season with nothing to show for it. But by the same token, it's football and it would come down to 90 minutes, so I think the squad were all prepared and focused, as they always are, and the mood was good without seeming to be overconfident. So the guys in the squad are fantastic to work with. There's very few occasions where you need to be overly persuasive in getting them to do their press and media duties. It's a squad full of characters as well, which the press like. So we've got a good relationship between the staff here, the volunteers here, and the playing squad. And I think in general, the media and the playing and management squad have a good relationship as well.
After the game, just describe the scenes here at Easter Road. I know there was a party going on because I came down. My wee brother wanted to see. if anything was happening. What was it like? Was there a sense of letting your hair down that night, or were you and your team thinking, listen, we've got an even, well, not a bigger day tomorrow, but just as big a day tomorrow with the parade, lots to organise and lots to think about. I mean, were you able to cut loose that evening, or did you have still one foot in your professional role?
I would say we're able to cut loose, but I would say that.
So what happened?
It was so the team bus came back to the stadium. I was fortunate enough to be on the director's coach that followed it, primarily so that when the team arrived, I was able to get off and manage the broadcasters that had turned up to get the shots. There was a fantastic gathering of supporters effectively behind the club shop, going down that way. So players come off, were able to show the cup off to the supporters that had gathered, and then they come into a private function here with the players and their family and that kind of thing. The trophy was there, man marked by a G4 security guy. I'm in a very privileged position. I think the rest of the guys here realise that they're in a very privileged position, that we are working at the club at a historic moment that as a fan I could only dream of that happening as a fan regardless of working here. But to be involved and I guess to have been part of that, the wider group, I say it's privileged more than anything else that we were able to experience that from a slightly different position from supporters.
On that subject of a privileged position, Colin, I know that lads were jealous of you on the open top bus with the players and at the players' party after and stuff, but was there a moment at all, particularly at the parade and stuff on Sunday, where you thought, this is fantastic, but I'd like to be with my mates and I'd like to not have any of my professional head on at this point and just be able to get totally swept away by it?
The most I'd felt like that was actually at the League Cup final.
Okay.
It was the first final I'd done, first time being at Hampden, and sitting there watching the game was the first Hampden game that I hadn't been there with my dad and with my mum and my brothers and that kind of thing, and that felt strange. And you'd celebrate the goal, by all means, but you're watching the game is very different. I actually remember, sorry, there was an instant before that, and I hate to bring this up for you, but the Hearts game at Tynecastle where we equalised in the last minute.
Forgotten about it already.
So Hanlon scores, and my initial reaction was probably a subtle celebration, bearing in mind you're in the middle of the main stand at Tynecastle. But straight away I thought I need to get down pitch side, down the tunnel, because the game's been broadcast, and if we lost that game, the broadcasters wouldn't have needed me until 10-15 minutes after the game to get the manager and potentially a player. As soon as that goal goes in, they're looking for the immediate flash interview, so you're watching the game first and foremost thinking about your work priorities. I think when it came to the weekend, there was an element, especially during the game, where you're celebrating the goals, that you're jumping about celebrating and you miss not having your family there. I grew up 4 hours away from Edinburgh. My mum and dad were up for the game and saw them in the morning before going to the game, but didn't see the two of them until the day after. So didn't get a chance to properly celebrate with them. I think where I did feel privileged was that my brothers were able to come back to the stadium on the Saturday night, and I think for me, I appreciate how privileged a position I'm in, but I felt good that I was able to, because of the job I'm in, to involve them in that moment, and I think that was a moment that was very special for them. And so on Sunday, when on the bus, being able to look down and see your mum and dad waving to you and the girlfriend there and stuff. That was a special moment as well. That sounds really cheesy. You can cut that out of the version of it.
I'm sure everyone listening understands the emotion of it all. We've always tried to be in touch with our feminine side on here, so that fits
it's
in.
It's been an emotional
details.
weekend.
Yeah. So we spoke a wee bit before we started recording about how the players are all kind of quite different characters and how they reacted differently, and as supporters and even from the outside you look at certain individuals and you think that'll affect him even more because he's either been a long suffering Hibs player having to deal with all the stick about the cup, or he's been a Hibs supporter and probably dreamed about it like all you guys have. What's the makeup of your media team? You spoke about how you close-knit like the squad is. Is it predominantly Hibbies on the media team, or is there a mix and match from all different backgrounds? And what was if there are non-Hibbies in the team, what was their reaction to the weekend and the outpouring of emotion that you faced?
From a media team, we're almost exclusively Hibs fans, and that's not anything deliberate. I think when you build a volunteer team, it's probably more attractive for people coming in to volunteer at the team they support, because they still get to enjoy the game, watch the game, everything else. There's one boy who's come in to do a bit of experience over the last 4 or 5 months from a kind of marketing background, so he's been doing a lot of work on our social media side, how to grow the numbers and everything else. So he's a Dundee fan. He's not come through as a Hibs fan. I think he's jokingly taken an awful lot of credit because our social media numbers are through the roof. And he's managed to be involved in 2 cup finals in the space of the few months that he's been here. So he's done a very good job. In terms of the staff here, there's a mix between born and bred Hibs fans and non-Hibs fans, but the staff here all put in an incredible amount of effort, and it all meant an awful lot to everyone here, regardless of whether they were born and bred Hibs fans or not.
How much were each of you involved in Sunday able to prepare yourself for what you saw and the amount of numbers out?
Because you had the sponsorship party in the morning as well. Were you involved in that too, or is that something?
I wasn't directly involved in the player sponsors event. I think because of our playing schedule, that was a difficult one to organise and fit in. I think the guys tried their best to pick a date for it, and then because the Falkirk game had been shifted to the Friday night instead of the Saturday, the Thursday night then went out the window. So Sunday was probably the last opportunity to guarantee having the full squad together. By all accounts, it went very well.
It was a riot. Well, there was a bit of grumbling beforehand, like, what are they doing it then for? It could be a complete dastard. But it's my little brother, I don't know how he did it, he's very much in the Jason Cummins mould, and I just kept getting these video messages from him having the time of his life. I was so jealous of him.
You understand those grumbles as well, and I think if we hadn't won on Saturday, then the atmosphere at that obviously would have been different. But we'd looked at all the possibilities and all the different dates, and it was that was pretty much the best option that I had available to us.
Did every player show up to that?
Yes.
Yeah, nice one.
Including
professionals.
Including the
ones who were on Snapchat 2 hours earlier.
Especially those ones.
Was there anyone that had just been here all night? Or did it eventually clear out?
No, I think most folk eventually left. But no, full squad turnout, and including some of the development squad boys that have shirt sponsors and stuff as well. I think the scale of Sunday was always difficult to predict.
Because you hear the become legends chat, and we've heard it for years and years, and you can see other examples of parades, but until you're part of it, I imagine it's really difficult. You can explain to the players, this will be the greatest day of your life, but until they experience it, it's difficult to prepare, really.
Yeah, and even, we had a situation up until the playoff game where we could have been playing a game tonight on Wednesday night, which meant that I'm pretty sure the celebrations that we witnessed at the weekend couldn't have happened from a player preparation point of view as much as it would have been incredibly difficult to curtail those celebrations because of the emotion involved.
I mean, George Best managed it. Jason Cummings could.
You can make the George Best Jason Cummings comparison. I'm not gonna go there. So it was only the start of cup final week that you could start to fully put plans in place for it as well. I don't know whether. I think you probably would have got that turnout regardless of whether we'd won in the last minute or won by a couple of goals or whatever else. But the scenes on Sunday were incredible to see 150,000, 200,000 supporters out. Watching general tourists and shoppers look around in bewilderment over what on earth was going on to their usual Royal Mile. I don't think there's much the players knew. I remember speaking to Dan McGregor on the Saturday night, and that was one of the points he was making, was that I think he knew how big Sunday was going to be. You know, being a Letha, being a Hibs fan, and he was trying to say to some of the other players, like, Saturday was sensational, best day of their life, but Sunday's going to be even better. And there's a lot of players that come Sunday were just overwhelmed by the emotion that they felt and by the response from the supporters and the wider community, because you don't realise the potential of the club until you get a day like Sunday. And we believe this club have a massive potential, and that's what we're working towards. But when you have a visual representation of it like that, as I say, I was very privileged to be on the bus, and the stunning point was when you actually look back behind you and saw just the swarm of people coming down the street, and those scenes will live with everyone, supporters and players and staff here alike forever.
Did you get a chance, we spoke about this before, one of the really nice moments I thought of Sunday was Sir Tom Farmer at the end just being able to salute the supporters and give them a bit of a wave before everyone got off the bus. Did you get a chance to speak to Tom at all about his feelings of the day? Because he's not often out in public speaking about Hibs. He's sometimes a bit of a silent owner, so to speak, in his role as a philanthropist. Did you get a chance to talk to him at all, or get his feelings on what everything that had transpired?
I didn't speak to him personally. He said a few words up at the City Chambers before, and it was that expression of just how much it meant. You know, I think it's well documented that Sir Tom got involved with the club, partly through the family history that he had, and partly because of his priority of Leith in the local area. And I'm sure looking out onto those scenes would have been incredible for him as well.
Yeah, Leith really just felt like it had come alive. You know?
Yeah,
you really felt the hand of history on your shoulder.
Yeah, and it was really nice. I think that the bus was able to go right down into the heartland of Leith. You know, you think on the bus route in 2007 where obviously it's different because it was a night as opposed to a day thing or whatever.
When it flew along London,
but
zoomed down Easter Road.
Exactly, and ended up at the stadium. Whereas this just went right the way through the streets, and I think everyone just poured out onto the streets to see it, and there was just that community feel to it that was pretty special.
And how much planning goes into that? Because obviously people are terrified to jinx it by asking, you know, how do we celebrate? No, don't say it. But obviously there was a lot of planning went into to make sure it wasn't a disaster, because it's clear that you couldn't do anything at the stadium because there's too many people.
Well, that was something I was going to ask as well, because a lot of people forget in amongst the disappointment of a lost cup final, but all of those plans have to be in place well before, because for safety reasons everything has to be signed off. How satisfying was it ultimately to actually get to see that all play out after that, you know, at the third time just in recent years of planning?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I hadn't been working at the club for any of the other Scottish Cup finals. I think for me, if you think to a kind of communications point of view or from a media point of view, we put an awful lot of effort into the League Cup final, generated some amazing content because we've got some very talented people in the volunteer pool and in the staff pool with the video guys and stuff. And a lot of that footage will probably never see the light of day. And now we're sitting here on the bank of fantastic video footage and imagery that we will fully intend to make the most of. And for the parade itself, it does take a lot of planning, and that was at short notice as well. We knew we were in a final, but there wasn't a great deal of spare time when you're playing 2 games a week to put aside towards that. So there's a lot of work goes into it, and that involves a lot of external parties as well. Working with the council, working with the police. So to see it all come together as successfully as it did on Sunday, I think must have been satisfying for a lot of the guys.
It's going to be, for obvious reasons, a long time until supporters' minds turn to anything other than Saturday's game. I know Craig's already watched it about 5 times back. At what stage do you have to start looking towards next season? Obviously, now European football very early in the schedule.
And we started a few months ago. In genuine seriousness, like the schedule has been incredibly full on. I think Scottish Cup final week was probably the first week, unless I'm wrong, since the start of April that we didn't have 2 games. So you were pretty much going from game to game with pre-match press, post-match press, so that it didn't leave much time to think about other things. But internally, you do think and plan ahead. So from a comms point of view, we're always looking and reviewing what we do, looking to see how we improve what we put out on Facebook. So say Facebook, for example, we've been making use of Facebook Live, being able to live broadcasts pre-match warm-ups or some of the celebration scenes, which is something that I don't think many other clubs are doing at the moment. Snapchat is another one where other clubs, I think we were one of the first Scottish clubs to go on that, because we saw it as an opportunity to engage with supporters. And I'll be honest, I'd never used Snapchat before we started, but we thought let's have a go and see what harm can you do. For next season, we've got plans hopefully to improve what we're doing with Hibs TV, to improve how we communicate with supporters through the website, through social media channels, through non-digital channels as well. This will be my first full season in the role, because I started at the start of September within this specific role. So there's a lot of things that we'll, as a team, have learned from and look to put in place. I think now we have the certainty of knowing what league you're in and knowing the outcome of the cup, so you can now start to make more final plans probably than dealing with the hypotheticals of, if we go up and win the cup, then you could probably do this, and if you don't go up and win the cup, you can do this, and if you win the cup and don't go up, there's, getting into the last few weeks of the season, there were so many different scenarios, and we had to plan for every one of those scenarios. So now at least there's a bit of certainty, and we can hit the ground running.
Okay, lads, any final questions for Colin?
Craig, I'm not really giving you a chance to speak.
You've done alright.
I was going to ask, how now do you harness this? 150,000 people on the streets of Leith, cheering on the club. People on message boards basically demanding the Hibs take their money, waiting for the club shops open so they can buy merchandise relating to this cup final. How do you harness this in the best way? Striking while the iron's hot, because we do have a promotion to chase next year, and we have to ensure that the attendances go up a bit as well. I mean, it's probably leading on a little, but season ticket sales, do you expect to see a dramatic rise after the events of the weekend?
I would hope so. I think we're in uncharted territory for pretty much everyone that's here. But there's a feel-good factor around the club, around the community. I live across the road from the stadium, and going out for the shopping or going to walk down the streets over the last few days, whether it's just in my head or not, there seems to have been a lot more Hibs tops being worn and that kind of thing. The number of people that were out on Sunday was overwhelming, and you hope that Hibs have engaged with those people to such an extent now. Anecdotally, of a number of people that have either come back through the cup final or become touched by the cup final, or people who are new to the club for the first time but are seeing those scenes and thinking, right, well, this is fantastic, this has been incredible, and that's the big challenge for us, is how we build on that. And a lot of it, I think, won't come down to anything that we do as a club or as a communications manager or as kind of marketing director. It's these kind of things will snowball themselves, I think, and it's been great to see the number of videos and images coming through, and you're starting to see supporters groups and others rally around and encourage others to buy a season ticket or to come back to games. So we won't be taking any major credit if there's another few thousand season ticket holders on the gate, because I think supporters will rally around themselves, and what we need to try and do is keep that positive momentum going, make the club as easy as possible to engage with. We have a big shiny cup that we'll hopefully be able to show off and bring people to it. The Leith Festival, for example, happens middle of June every year, and it's the 19th of June this year. It's basically, as part of that, the club has on the Sunday basically an open doors day that's organised through the Historical Trust. Last year was an incredible day, and we had a few thousand people through the doors, loads of smiling faces, a great feeling about the place. I would like to think that this year is going to be even better than that. So I say our job is to make the club as open as possible, so that if people do want to engage with us, whether that's through coming to games or buying merchandise or subscribing to Hibs TV or being involved in the community football or the Game Changing initiative, or however that relationship may be, because I'm pretty sure we've all got different stories about how we got involved with the club or started supporting the club, or how the club touched our own lives. Then we just need to make sure we facilitate that. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Life with Hibs Julie's story recently.
That was brilliant.
It was such a touching video, touching story, and the number of comments that came from that is that's very similar to my story, or I've got my own story like that. The club can have an effect on people's lives that goes far beyond just a football result on a Saturday, and sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that when you get caught up in results and the kind of hard and fast of, or the black and white of football. But what we saw at the weekend was pure emotion on Sunday, and you hope that rolls forward into a successful season next season.
Perfect. Colin, with that, we thank you very much for your time here, and before we let you go, I have to say thanks very much on behalf of all of us and Monday Night Football for everything you've done for us this season. It's been greatly appreciated, and we really look forward to working with you going forward in the future as well.
No problem at all.
Thanks very much, Colin.
Cheers.
Cheers.